What's going on, my fellow Americans? In about 3 weeks, the U.S. presidential election's coming up, and if you're like me, the early voting starts in about a week. I've been getting a lot of questions from a lot of different people on who you're going to vote for. And typically, I don't like to give that stuff away. I think it's pretty much well known kind of where I stand politically, and that's okay. So you can kind of figure that out if you really want to. But a lot of questions have been coming in about what the different stances and policies probably for the candidates out there. And we're not just talking about President Trump and Biden. We're talking about all 4 candidates that are on the national stage that are at least polling right now. So we're going to kind of dive in and look at each 4 of them and what their policies on the two-way and gun reform and gun control and all of that is. So the first person we're going to look at is President Trump. Now, we all know that he goes out and says that he is very pro-gun, pro-Second Amendment, but he's also done some things in the first term that might suggest that isn't always the case. But we're going to go through some of the stuff that he has said and what his policies are, and we'll go from there. According to his campaign website, the Second Amendment to our Constitution is clear. The right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed upon. Gun and magazine bans are a total failure. The right of self-defense doesn't stop at the end of the driveway. That's why I have a concealed carry permit and why tens of millions of Americans do too. That permit should be valid in all 50 states. It sounds great. On Twitter on January 20th, he says, "I will never allow our great Second Amendment to go unprotected, not even a little bit." But if you go back to August of 2019, he comes out and says, "Serious discussions are taking place between House and Senate leadership on meaningful background checks. I've also been speaking to the NRA and others so that their very strong views can be represented and respected. Guns should not be in the place of hands of mentally ill or deranged people. I'm the biggest Second Amendment person there is, but we all must work together for the good and safety of our country. Common sense things can be done that are good for everyone." So he's saying the Second Amendment shall not be infringed upon, but then he's also publicly saying, "I'm okay with background checks. Common sense laws should be in place that would be good for everyone." For those that are staunch 2A supporters, any infringement is bad, okay? We already know what he's done with bump stocks. The ATF has already kind of looked at pistol braces in recent days. So my question is where does he really stand? And the answer is no one really knows. Is he the best alternative out there? Well, we're going to get to that here in just 1 second. So the second candidate we're going to look at is Jo Jorgensen, and she is the Libertarian Party candidate for president. And historically, Libertarians are very staunch pro-2A supporters. No infringements whatsoever. Her campaign website said that she opposes additional restrictions on the processes of purchasing a gun. She also opposes allowing victims of gun violence to sue firearm dealers and manufacturers. On June 17th on Twitter, she says, "Guns are tools that exist in the world. They cannot be willed out of existence, legislated away, constitutionally removed from society, nor pragmatically removed from life as we know it. Policies like assault weapons bans have exactly the wrong effect. They'll present the most minor of hurdles for the lawless, while the law-abiding experience of the law is full effect. It's collective punishment for the innocent, a mere annoyance at best for the lawless. No amount of rhetoric from either side has any bearing on whether you should be able to have a weapon if you think you need it." Now, that all sounds wonderful. And like I said, historically, libertarians are going to be very staunch pro-2A supporters and all of that. But here's something that I'm missing from her. She says in her statement that she opposes additional restrictions. Well, that's good, I guess. You don't want any more restrictions that are already on the books. But what about the restrictions that are already on the books? Nowhere on her website or nowhere on any of her public statements has she ever once said that she'd like to repeal the NFA, repeal the 4473. Nothing on her website or any of her public statements has ever indicated that she's willing to go ahead and go after any anti-gun legislation that are already on the books. So if she's that much of a staunch 2A supporter, why not sit there and say, not only do I oppose any additional restrictions, I want to get rid of all restrictions that are already on the books? Maybe it's just me. I don't know. It makes sense. Now, going to the more of the anti-gun, the anti-two-way side of the table, we have Democratic candidate Joe Biden. Creepy Joe's campaign website says, as president, I will pursue common sense gun safety policies, hold gun manufacturers accountable, ban the manufacture and sale of assault weapons and high-capacity magazines, buy back the assault weapons and high-capacity magazines already in our communities, reduce stockpiling of weapons, require background checks for all gun sales, create an effective program to ensure individuals who become prohibited from possessing firearms relinquish their weapons, give states incentives to set up gun licensing programs. He goes on to say that he's going to put America on the path of ensuring that 100% of firearms sold in America are smart guns. He's going to prioritize the prosecution of straw purchasers, prohibit the use of federal funds to arm or train educators to discharge firearms, and he's also going to limit the number of firearms to one purchase per month. On August 4th on Twitter, he says, as president, I'll take on a powerful gun lobby to pass universal background checks, ban assault weapons and high-capacity magazines, and close loopholes to keep guns out of dangerous hands. We can and will end our gun violence epidemic. So basically what he's saying is as far as he's concerned, he doesn't want anything outside of his favorite shotgun that he loves to brag about. My opinion on Vice President Biden is that this guy is absolutely anti-2A. He's going to say that he wants people to be able to defend themselves, but we're going to make it so difficult for you to get a gun, much less the gun that you want or need, that he's going to make it almost impossible to do so. Now, the last candidate we're going to talk about might be the craziest of them all. It's the Green Party's candidate, Howie Hawkins. According to his website, these are just some of the policies that he would implement as president. Ban and buy back military assault weapons, high-capacity magazines and bump stocks, universal background checks for gun and ammo buyers, including closing the loophole for private sales and sales at gun shows, with sales and background check records maintained indefinitely in a central registry. Require all gunners to pass a gun safety test, a visual test, and be licensed by a government agency, kind of like getting a driver's license. He wants to institute a 28-day waiting period after a license application before firearms can be possessed. Expand the prohibition on the purchase and possession of guns by people convicted of misdemeanor crimes such as menacing, assault, and unlawful imprisonment. One of the things he also wants to do is enact a national red flag law. Now, the part that gets me about all this is he's obviously anti-2A, anti-gun. He doesn't want anyone to have anything, and if he does, he wants to be registered, and you're going to have to jump through a bunch of loopholes just to defend yourself. And oh, by the way, if you're in danger and you need to go get a firearm to defend you or your family, you got to wait 28 days. That's a great policy, isn't it? But more importantly, the red flag law. All red flag laws are dangerous, but to do it at a national level, how are you going to legislate what's in someone's mind? That is the scariest slippery slope there could possibly be. So unless you're really nuts out there, Howie Hawkins is scary. Now, if you're like me and you love this flag and what it stands for, then you probably are a constitutionalist like I am. I'm not really a Republican, a Democrat, or a Libertarian. I'm more of a constitutionalist. When it comes to social things, I'm pretty liberal about that. I don't care who you're married to. I don't care all of that. If you're happy and you're a good citizen and productive in this world, live with who you want to, marry who you want to. I don't care about that. Fiscally, I'm pretty conservative, so I'm pretty much a moderate. But when it comes to certain things like the Constitution, there is no gray area. The Constitution is what it is, and it says the right to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. If you're a staunch 2A supporter and you're a single issue voter, then Joe Jurgensen's probably going to be the choice for you. But here's the question I need to ask you. Is voting for Joe Jurgensen a vote for Biden? In this election, I do believe it is, because I think this election is going to be a lot closer than people think. If you would have asked me a year ago, I said Trump wins by 10. I'm not so sure about that anymore. So every vote that we can get for a presidential candidate that is going to at least be a pro-gun, whether they're 2A or not, a pro-gun president is going to be vital. I understand if you want to vote for Joe Jurgensen. I would love to lean that way. But in this particular election, when I know it's going to be very, very close, I think that any vote for anyone other than President Trump, as far as a two-way vote goes, is a vote for an anti-gun president, whether it's Biden or Hawkins. Hawkins is polling at 1%, not a factor. But Vice President Biden is very vocal about banning guns. That is what it is. Is President Trump the best friend that the two-way's ever seen? Hell no, probably not even close. But I think he's at least pro-gun. He's probably not pro-two-way, but he's at least pro-gun. And I'd like to think that maybe in a second term, he can get some stuff done. Vote for Jurgensen if you want to strictly vote on a single issue of guns, but understand she's probably not going to win. And every vote that gets pulled away from President Trump could mean that we have Crazy Joe in the White House. So guys, I'm never going to tell you who to vote for. That is completely up to you, but you need to look at all the factors. You need to be very careful on who you vote for in your local elections, whether it's sheriff, alderman, justice of the peace, mayor, at the state level. Yes, you need to worry about it at the national and federal level, but your local and state are going to be very, very, very important because that's where it's going to see the most difference for you directly. So make sure that you're getting all the information out there and vote for the person that you ideally line up with. Once again, if this flag means as much to you as it does to me, then I think we really need to look hard at who we're voting for.
Well guys, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, we ask you to hit that thumbs up button. If you really liked it, maybe think about subscribing. If you want to check out more stuff from us, check out the playlist right here. Visit our website, ghosttacticalproductions.com. Remember to vote, and we'll see you soon. Semper Fidelis, my friends.